Dear audience, welcome to the show POWERchat. In today's episode, we will be discussing about good governance in Nepal with particular focus on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index 2018. Joining us today is Mr. Mukunda Bahadur Pradhan, Secretary General of Transparency International Nepal. Please allow me to welcome him. Welcome to the show, Mr. Pradhan.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Thank you. Yeah, fine.
Well, Transparency International has recently released with the Corruption Perception Index 2018, which states that countries including Nepal were failed to address the root causes of corruption.
Yeah.
How do you see the state of governance in Nepal in relation to the report that Transparency International released?
Actually, the corruption. Talking about corruption, first we should know how the corruption is going on in Nepal and what is the reason of corruption, increasing corruption. Like when we talk about the corruption in Nepal, we say it is increasing because the confusing law is there and high discretionary power in the acts and lack of punishment and say poor social norm and value and political instability and lack of systems. And in most of the cases what we say that corruption is always due to the government people. But in case of Nepal, I should add one more, that we do have some poor social value as well, because in our society, if somebody works, whether in government service or business or wherever, or politics or wherever, if somebody earns money, and then he is considered to be successful and he is good and he is great. But actually the society never see that how he or she has earned. So we have to change the social value. We also have to judge how he or she has earned the money. And in that case, it will be very easy to change the country, and if the people will understand it, government.
That's really interesting idea you raised, Mr. Pradhan.
Yeah.
How can the perception, you are basically talking about the social perception.
Yes.
How can that perception be changed so that social norms or social values would be contributing towards minimizing or combating corruption?
Actually, in most of the cases, people do not know many things about the policies, implementation styles, and we should say the ethical values. So we have to educate the people. We have to educate the citizens and empower the citizens to ask about the rules, to ask about the policies, and to know about how the government is working and other people are working. And that should be moral. I should add one more. So if the social value is changed, if they are trained, they are educated, they are empowered, and the value will be changed.
What is the role of the state organs combating corruption?
Yeah, of course, it's a lot. Basically, it's the state organs, because they are the policy makers, they are the implementers, and they are the service providers, and they are the controller of everything. And if there is any corruption between organization to organization or person to person, it is the state-owned government people that they have to control all these things. So basically, it is there. And one more thing, that in case of Nepal, because the political system has not been stabilized yet, the basic reason is the politics. And the reason of corruption in Nepal, whether you talk about the TI Perception Index or the study conducted by different organizations, including the recent CIA report, that the main cause of the corruption in Nepal is the politicians. So, we have to change the mentality of the politicians as well.
How can that be changed? Where does What does your report say about the role of political parties or other state organs?
Actually, the role of political parties is always there because it is the political parties who form the governments. And it is the government and everything, policymakers and controllers, everything is the political people. And because why I added this individual person, the society as well, because the political persons are also from the same society. No? That is why there should be some change in the society as well. The society, if the society will have proper knowledge about everything, about the anti-corruption movement, they will not vote the same person, not doing proper, not working properly in the government. They will not be voted again.
Are you of the view that there is a lack of awareness and lack of education and social and cultural values?
Yeah, of course. Cultural values are also there, and they, normally we don't ask to our seniors. If the seniors say anything, then we say, okay, the seniors have spoken, and then forget it. No? But actually, if the seniors are wrong, we should be able to say that you are wrong in this point, in this issue, so you have to change these things. We never say like that.
But in the recent days, Mr. Pradhan, there have been initiatives going on, including that of your own, Transparency International
Yeah, of course.
And now in line with what civil society or media supporting to combat, corruption.
Yes.
Why situation is not changed? Your recent report of 2018 says that corruption is increasing.
Yeah, actually, if you talk about the corruption perception index of TI, actually it has not increased. It has remained static. If you talk about if you analyze the perception index of Nepal in different years, in 2004 it was 2.8 out of 10. That comes to be 28%. And now in 2018 it is 31%, 31 out of 100. Now, if you say that in 14 years of period, our score has increased 28% to 31%. That comes to be 3% only. So I should say that it is static. There is no change in 14 years in anti-corruption movement.
So can we say that all political parties that ruled this country during these 14 years are responsible for results of your
if you analyze in the depth, after 2004 there was a lot of political turmoils, and especially during 2008 and 12 there was a lot of political changes in Nepal, the government changes in Nepal. And everything was turmoil and unstable government, everything. And that is why our perception index that time was very low. From 28% it came down to 22% and 23% during 2009 to 11. And again, it developed, and it became 31% in 2013, 31%. Because that time it was seen that, okay, now the politics will be better in Nepal. But later it couldn't be, and then 2014, you see, it became 29%, and 2015, 27%, and again in 2017, it is 31%. And in 18 also, it is the same, 18%, 31%. So if you talk about 17 and 18, there is no change. And politically also, you can see, during 17 and 18, there was not a lot change in the government. So now there is a probability of being good government now, because now we do have 2/3 majority government. So in this case, what happens is that if this government will work better for the public, for the people, and in that case, our perception will be increased.
What should government do? Do you have any suggestions to this government so that in the coming years your perception surveys would be better in relations to Nepal?
Of course, the first of all, the government has to be clear in the rules and acts and laws, and we do have. Actually, there are the rules and laws will never be sufficient in any country. It will be changing. It will be time demand. They have to amend all these things, and especially in Nepal, because we are introducing our new style of government. The provinces are there, so the laws should also be changed accordingly. But if you talk about the anti-corruption laws, in my opinion, whatever the laws we do have now, if we properly implement it, corruption will be controlled. But we have not been able to control the corruption because we have not been able to implement the laws and acts.
So here comes the role of executive. You mean that?
Yeah, role of executive. And when there is the misuse of power, abuse of power, and the misuse of power for private gains, and then there will be corruption. And if
does your report, Mr. Pradhan, explain about the roles of different state actors, for example, executives and judiciary? Or
if you just see the as per the reports, you can just say that when talking about the accountability of executives to oversight public employees and access of civil society to information on public affairs, from 2013 to 18, there is no change at all. It is 35% only. 35% means it is less than 50. Let me tell you one more thing. That if any country will have less than 50 CPI, it means the country is corrupt prone. It is corrupted, we should say.
So Nepal is
Nepal has
in
never
that list in the past, and still the list continues.
As I told you, it is just from in 2004 it was 28%, and now it has come to 31%. So it's a long way to go to get the 50 marks.
What should be done for that, so that Nepal,
so
goes up, and TI or other international bodies do not list Nepal under the corrupted countries?
Good governance. The first thing is good governance. When we talk of the anti-corruption movement and or promoting integrity, it means there should be good governance. And when we talk of good governance, there should be transparent. The policy, the implementing rules should be transparent to all, number one. And number two is whoever will be, the executives or officials, they should be made accountable. They should be accountable of what they have done, what they have implemented. And then, the rule of law should be there. The rule of law, and there should be no discrimination with the change in the caste, change in the person or whatever. So if there is no transparency, no accountability, and if there is no rule of law, then there will be corruption. So what we have to take care is the good governance with these three things.
How hopeful you are that the government would be addressing these issues so to maintain good governance here in Nepal in the changed political context?
Okay, and then we have yet to judge the changed political political context, because it has just crossed 1 year, and our study is it has been studied, I think it is April 2018, up to 2018 April. And so 2018 April means the government just was, the new government was just came. And that's why, this government has yet to be judged for the to judge this government, we'll have to wait another at least 1 or 2 years. Then we will know. And moreover, what you should know, I should tell you that in every country there is corruption. In every sector there is corruption, not only in Nepal. So, but it doesn't mean that everybody is corrupted. So when there is corruption in every aspect of life, then every sector should try to minimize the corruption. Combating corruption by only the government is not possible. To combat the corruption, the civil societies, private sector, and individuals should also go together to combat the corruption. So, and the leader will always be the government. So, first we need the government, and then only other will work together.
How do you compare Nepal with other countries in the region? If you have to compare Nepal with other countries in this region, I mean South Asia, where is Nepal?
If you compare this from South Asia and Nepal, you can see that in 2004, because I'm stressing 2004 just because TI started to study Nepal from 2004 for this corruption perception index. That's why I'm stressing 2004. In 2004, Nepal got 28% and India also got 28%, 2.8 out of 10. And in 2018, we reached 31 and India 41. So we are very slow in combating corruption. And if you talk about say Pakistan, it was 21% in 2004, and now in Pakistan reached to 33%, more than Nepal. So Pakistan is also faster in combating. And if you talk of Bangladesh, it was 1.5% in 2004, and now it is 26%. Means, they from 15% to 26% means 11% they went better. And if you talk of Pakistan, then 11% better. If India, 28 to 41 means 13% better. But in case of Nepal, only 3%, 28 to 31. And that's why we have been, very slow in combating corruption. This is the problem with us.
Could you also tell us the strategies that a country like Nepal could adopt to minimize, corruption?
Actually, the focus is always in the politics. And as I told you before, that in 2009 to 11, Nepal's perception index was very low, and that time the political, everything was very turmoil and no stable government, and that's why. And so what we need now today is, number one, good politics, good politicians, stable government. And the government should work together with the civil society, together with the private sector and the individuals. And if every sector will have, will try to combat corruption, then it will be eradicated.
Throughout your answers, you have been focusing on the role of civil society and access to information. Do you think that in Nepal, civil society, activists or actors or associations are able to work in a spirit with the international principles combating corruption? Because there is criticism. They are also divided into different political lines. What do you have to say?
Yeah, of course it is there. So if there will be stable government, everything will be stabilized, I should say. This is my opinion. So the first, we need stable government. And I think now we will have this for a long period, let us see. At least for 5 years it will be there. And then also there should be stable government. And in that case, it will be easier to combat corruption.
But Mr. Pradhan, there are questions by media to the governing system of this country since the political party joined the government, NCP, the Nepal Communist Party. There are questions to executives leading, in the leading ministries that of the corruption charged. What if one political party governing the country joins corruption, and where should public or citizens depend upon?
So now we will have to see the morale of the government. When everything is transparent about taking bribes or doing mishandling people, like you might have heard the one minister, provincial minister, just beat the secretary. No, and then what is the morale of the government now? So now the two-third government should think about it. And there are so many scandals, like the Boeing scandal. The Boeing scandal, when everything is in the news media, the government sometimes we see confusion that whether the media is right or the government is right. So government should just have press release that this is the fact, and government has not been able to show the fact, real fact. They have not been transparent. That is the problem. Recently, you see the CIA member had just resigned.
Due to his engagement in corruption.
Due to his engagement in corruption, it came in the media. And now the question is, he resigned, but when he resigns, will he be punished or not? This is a big question, and people are just waiting to see this. In general, in normal case, if any member of the constitutional body is to be penalized, it should be through the impeachment first. And if it is not impeachment, and if he has resigned and he has just, and if the resignation will be accepted, then it means he won't be punished.
Well, Mr. Pradhan, you have been long engaged in anti-corruption work here in Nepal through Transparency International, and you might have encountered with any initiatives globally. Could you share with us about any existing mechanism, especially when state organs, judicial and constitutional bodies fail to address the corruption? Is there any mechanism that we can think of, independent mechanism that could look after corruption?
Actually, it is the general public and the media that they have to make transparent everything. And more we become transparent, more we can combat the corruption.
Do you think that is going to happen here in Nepal?
No, it should go. It should go. Otherwise, we'll remain as the same. And always we will be as the corrupted countries in the eyes of the experts of the world. And when there is corruption, we should understand that where there is more corruption, then there, the foreign investment cannot be increased. Rather, it will decrease. And then, this money laundering and tax evasion will just cause it will affect the development budgets, and there will be no development. And then the gap between rich and poor will increase. So for all these things, we have to be very careful, and we have to combat the corruption at any cost. So whether it will be or not, and I always say that we should combat with the corruption. We should go for the transparency. We should go with the transparent policy, transparent implementation, everything. In that case, only we can combat the corruption.
Any legal adjustment that in the changed political situation, there are different provinces now?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of, the laws are under construction. So it has to be formulated, of course. And the government is doing. And there is no problem. But I'm not much concerned with the laws to make, but I'm concerned with the laws to be implemented well.
So people of this country expect from this government, just because they are in number 2/3, that everything would be okay, including that of the corruption will come into line.
Yeah, if they, suppose if the 2/3 government will just try to go follow only corruption, and then the people should know that the government is not working well, and the people will just change the government. That's no problem.
Well,
So
Mr.
the-
Pradhan, there are many interesting issues, but we are coming to the end of this. So any final insights that you have to share with our audience? I'll have to ask you very quickly.
Very quickly, what I mean, I want to say that corruption is everywhere in the world, in every sector of the world, and it has, but we should understand that all are not corrupt. There are good people as well, not only bad people. Nepal is corrupted, the CPI said, but it does mean that we all are corrupted. So we are, many good people also out of the corruption, and there is, there are so many organizations and the people who are fighting for the corruption, but they are minority now. So they will win once in Nepal.
Well, Mr. Pradhan, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Dear audience, time now to wrap up the show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.